Today we have the Democratic nominee running to be Virginia's next governor, Terry McAuliffe. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Brian. Great to be with you.
So first off, what's the state of this race right now? Because Biden won Virginia by 10 points last year, but how close is this race as it stands?
Listen, these governor's races in Virginia are always close because we're an off year. We have elections every year in Virginia. And I would also say for 44 straight years, the party that wins the White House, the other party wins the governor's mansion the following year. I'm the only guy to break it. I, of course, won in 13 and President Obama won in 12. So it's really a question of getting people out to vote. I ran the state for the president here, and we won by 400,000 votes. So we just got to get everybody to understand that voting is critical. We have early vote here now for 45 days. There's no reason not to vote. You know, I got recruited to run again by the leadership of the Black Caucus, the head of the House, the Senate, and everybody. You know, I took over the last time, Brian. We were in an economic chaos because of the great recession and sequestration. I built a booming new economy, 200,000 new jobs. Personal income went up 14%. Record investment in K-12, $1 billion. But I also was a social warrior. I mean, as you know, I banned the Confederate flag from our license plates. I restored more voting rights than any governor in American history, 173,000 folks, to erase 114-year-old racist Jim Crow law. So I always leaned in. I had to keep our women's clinics open. They wanted to shut all our clinics down. I'm very proud as governor. I kept all 16 women's reproductive clinics. I also was the first governor after the historic Supreme Court ruling to perform a gay marriage in America, trying to show the world that Virginia is an open and welcoming state, and our economy took off.
Well, obviously the top issue facing people right now is coronavirus. So what would be the immediate effect of Glenn Youngkin, your opponent, winning Virginia with regard to vaccines, masks, mandates, and so on?
And that's a real difference in this race. He has said day one, mask off, no requirement for anyone to be vaccinated. And let me put this in perspective. Just on Monday, 8,000 Virginians contracted COVID. We have 10% of our population has been infected. Nearly 13,000 Virginians have died. I'm calling for vaccination requirements. Every teacher, every doctor, every nurse. I want every employer to require that every employee be vaccinated. Because, Brian, if we don't kill this pandemic now, it's going to continue to mutate in different variants. I just met with the head of all infectious diseases at University of Virginia Medical School. He thinks we're going to have this for another 2 years. We have got to lean in and get everybody vaccinated. So if Glenn Youngkin gets elected, think of this. You're a parent and you got a 6 or 7-year-old. He is going to force you to send your child to first grade with a teacher who's not vaccinated and who's not wearing a mask. And he continues to praise Governor DeSantis that Florida is the model. Well, today, I'll tell you, Brian, in Florida, 225,000 children quarantined, 87 teachers dead, and the death rate of children has doubled in Florida. We just lost two 11-year-olds the other day here in Virginia. So I think it's disqualifying to be governor. You're putting Virginians' lives at risk, and his lieutenant governor will not admit if she was vaccinated or not. So think of this. She's been traveling around with Glenn Youngkin. They're going to all these rallies, and you got to presume she's not vaccinated and spreading COVID. I mean, this is so scary, so frightening.
Well, speaking of students, Youngkin's also urging college students to use loopholes to get past universities' vaccine mandates. Is there no acknowledgement of the fact that the pandemic that Republicans claim to hate so much will only be prolonged until everyone is vaccinated?
Well, you're exactly right. So think about what I just said. His lieutenant governor is not saying if she's vaccinated. So she could be spreading COVID. We don't know, but she's not vaccinated and could be giving it to other folks. And he has told college students that if you don't want to take it, just fill out an exemption for whatever reason. He has said, Brian, publicly, quoted, he goes on right-wing radio and spews this anti-vax rhetoric. Now, remember, he's been endorsed by Donald Trump 4 times. He has said so much of the reason I'm running is because of Donald Trump. But he goes on right-wing radio and says, if you don't want to take it, don't take it. He's also been quoted saying there are many good reasons not to get vaccinated. But I asked him in the debate the other day, I said, okay, you're at a cancer ward in a hospital. You've got a patient who is already immunocompromised, radiation, chemotherapy. Do you believe that that nurse should be vaccinated? He said, no. I mean, I got to tell you, anyone who works in a nursing home, a hospital, a school, you need to get vaccinated. So you asked what Virginia would be like. COVID would continue. And I tell you, it's so dangerous. but it's also crippling to your economy. There's no business that wants to move to a state with high infection rates and low vaccination rates.
Now, there's been an unlikely appearance in this race by Taylor Swift. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So Taylor Swift went through this vicious battle where basically she felt all the rights to her recordings. That the Carlyle Group, led by Glenn Youngkin, came in and basically took them away from her control. So she is very furious. She has been very public about the Carlyle Group and what they did to her and her music. This is her music. This is who she is. And a private equity firm came in and literally stole her own recordings away from her. But as we've seen, I mean, he has bought dental clinics and put children in unnecessary medical procedures. They bought Manor Care. 25,000 senior citizens' lives were put at risk. And they all make money doing this, Brian. So these private equity, they go in, they make billions, and then they bankrupt the company. They lay off workers, they cut benefits, and they ship jobs overseas. We don't want that here as our governor, I can tell you this. And his economic plan, 43,000 teachers would be cut. And don't take my word for it. Washington Post editorial the other day said he would drive our economy into a ditch. He would defund police, and he would cost us 43,000 teachers. They've endorsed me, and they actually said, Brian, in their editorial, if Glenn Youngkin is elected governor, it will be a grave mistake for Virginia. I mean, rarely do you see a paper say that.
Have you seen any increase in interest in young people as a result of this whole Taylor Swift, situation?
Two things. Number one, yes, because of Taylor Swift. But number two, because of the Texas abortion law. And Glenn Youngkin was caught on tape saying when he's governor, he will defund Planned Parenthood and ban abortions here in Virginia. And I got to tell you, that is life-threatening for women, and it is crippling to one's economy. I wrote the bid and submitted for the Amazon project HQ2, the biggest deal in 25 years in America. We won that here in Virginia. Why? We're an open, welcoming state. So I think with Taylor Swift and the issues of abortion, and he's against gay marriage. Now, that's one's individual rights to believe whatever they believe. But you just, Brian, cannot be governor of a state where you're trying to recruit big technology companies, 21st data companies. They're not. Let me be very clear. They are not coming to states that discriminate against women, gays, or anyone else for that matter. It is crippling. I brought 1,100 new economic development projects to Virginia. I traveled the globe, 35 trade missions. I went to 5 continents, bringing businesses back here, and our economy took off. Unemployment went from 5.7 to 3.3. Unemployment got reduced in every city, every county of Virginia when I was governor. That won't happen with Glenn Youngkin. He's going to bring his far-right Trumpian. He has said the number one issue facing Virginia, number one, not jobs, not healthcare, not education. You know what it is, Brian? What? Election integrity. That's what he says is the number one issue. Are you kidding me?
Now, I do want to speak about election integrity, but first, just building on what you had mentioned about abortion, as far as abortion rights in this country, we've already seen states with Republican governors running off the cliffs in terms of restricting access to abortion. Now, Youngkin was caught on camera saying basically that he can't really say what he wants to say on abortion because he risks losing independence. So what's your response to that?
Sickening. He's a fraud. I mean, he says, this is what I'm going to do. He tells his closest supporters, this is the top of my agenda. This is what I'm going to do. I'll go on the offense, was his word. I won't go squishy, he said. But then he says, as you rightfully pointed out, then he says, but we can't tell the voters this because if they find out, the independents won't vote for me. I got to tell you, Brian, I tell you what I tell you here today, I will tell everybody every day. I don't change what I say. I say what I believe in. I'm an authentic person. Whether you like it or not, you're always going to get straight talk from me. How about a politician saying, here's what I'm going to do, but we can't tell people and they won't vote for me? So, he's dangerous. As I say, he wants to ban abortions. He doesn't believe in gay marriage. I mean, he would take Virginia backwards. He has said, quote, so much of the reason why I'm running is because of Donald Trump. But, if people don't get active, they don't get in it. So I would hope, Brian, that everybody who's watching this podcast, go to terrymcaulife.com. Look at the 21 plans I have. And if you could text the word Terry, T-E-R-Y, to 50550, you know what? Get in this campaign. We've expanded voting rights. I restored more felon rights than any governor in American history. I banned the Confederate flag from the Virginia license plates. I have opened up voting. We can't go like these other 38 states that are trying to disenfranchise folks. They're trying to take your vote away. Let's not let them do that to us here in Virginia.
Well, building on exactly that, Youngkin's called for an audit into voting machines. So, what's your response in light of him effectively campaigning on the big lie?
Yeah. So for 8 months, the only thing, Brian, he had on his website, nothing on education, nothing on healthcare, was election integrity. He continually said it is the number one issue. And you're right. 2 days ago, he came out and said he wants to audit all of our voting machines. And then Donald Trump immediately, as you know, put out a press statement congratulating him for doing that. We don't have any election fraud issues. In this whole thing that Youngkin, he's running to divide people. He talks about critical race theory. Well, guess what? Critical race theory is not taught in Virginia. It is a dog whistle. It is racist. It is dividing people. I always try to unite people. I even had 20 prominent Republicans endorse me. Bill Kristol endorsed me. I try to get everybody to come together to move Virginia forward. I like us to lead the country. He is doing dog whistle after dog whistle. Voting rights, our voting machines. We don't need an audit. Let me be clear, Brian, we beat Donald Trump by 400,000 votes here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. He can audit all he wants, but we're not spending money on an audit. He's going to cost us 43,000 teachers with his economic plan. We're not wasting money on an audit. I'm going to put money into education and healthcare.
Now, that's not the only Trumpian move that the Virginia Republican Party has pulled. They've tried to pull this 11th hour stunt, basically, where they filed a lawsuit this past week seeking to remove you from the ballot because your signature is missing from a candidate form.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing screams confidence quite like trying to get the other side's candidate taken off the ballot altogether.
Yeah. And first of all, my signature on that form was not required. Once again, Glenn Youngkin ought to read state law. He knows nothing about Virginia. At one point they said they wanted to eliminate property taxes. Well, guess what? Governors don't do property taxes. That's a local issue. But those suits obviously were all thrown out. But talk about desperation is trying to get the nominee of the Democratic Party actually thrown off a ballot. But it's all the Trump stuff. Listen, let me be clear to all of your viewers. Donald Trump, as I say, has endorsed him 4 times. He issued another statement yesterday on voting rights. Donald Trump wants to use this to begin his comeback for 2024. We all know this. I have beaten Donald Trump twice here. I've run the state. I did it in 16 and 20. I beat him twice, and he hates it. He wants to win this one and begin his 2024 campaign. There are parts of our state, Southwest Virginia, where I campaign. There's already Trump 24 signs everywhere.
We'll finish up with this. You've said in the debate that the price tag of the full Build Back Better agenda is too high. The provisions contained within the Build Back Better Act are monumentally popular. So what do you say to those progressives and even the moderates who don't understand why we have to settle for subpar legislation?
Yeah, and I say that as a governor who has to negotiate every day and bring people into my conference room, Republicans and Democrats. I got 74% passed from a right-wing legislature. So I say that as someone, if you got a couple senators who want it pared down, if you need that to get their vote, okay, sit in a room, figure out what your priorities are and how much it's going to cost. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Get in a room. You don't get everything you want. I can tell you this as a governor, I didn't get everything I wanted, but you know what? I compromised, and guess what? Virginians were a lot better off at the end of the day. So I want to see this infrastructure bill passed. And then let's get the human infrastructure. Let's get, I want to see, family medical leave. I think is important. Elderly care, child care. I like universal pre-K. So the things I would love as a governor. But let's look at it. But they got to get this done. I'm just tired of it. They need to do their damn job. And here we got control of the White House and the House and the Senate. And we are just looking foolish because we've got a bill that overwhelmingly passed in the Senate. We can't get it through the House. Get in a room, quit talking to the press all day. And all they do is go out and chitty chat and talk to the press. Get in a room and figure out what's going to help America and get it passed, signed into law. I'm just tired of the bickering, and we are losing. Americans are losing. We have control of all the levers of power, Brian. Let's use them and let's lift people up.
Now, how can we help get involved? I mean, like you said, there's only we're in the final stretch here, and Virginia, as you said, doesn't exactly have a history of electing a Democrat when a Democrat's already in office.
And I think that's what surprised everybody because it's a blue state. We're not blue. We're elections every year. So we're off, no federal candidates, just myself, Lieutenant Governor, and we'll make history. Halalaya will be the first Afro-Latina elected as Lieutenant Governor, and Mark Herring will be our Attorney General. I've got 5-seat majority in the House of Delegates. I got to keep that. So we need your help. Get engaged. Come knock on doors. Come make phone calls. Donate. Go to terrymcauliffe.com. Text Terry to 50550. Get engaged. This is, and I don't have to tell you, Brian, and that's why Speaker Pelosi and President Biden and everybody's been here campaigning for me. Everybody. They know this is really important for setting the stage for 2022. And this is very important to the president. I've had the president here. I've had Vice President Harris here. Everybody's here. We cannot take our foot off the gas. We've got to hold these folks accountable. We got to win this election. But I can't do it without everybody getting in and helping. So come on here to Virginia. Virginia's for lovers. We got everything here. I got 300 plus vineyards. I got 280 craft breweries, 8 varieties of oysters. Virginia's for lovers, man. We got it all. Come on in here and spend a weekend with us.
I know a lot of people look to California and like to think that that was a harbinger of things to come, but Virginia really is a bellwether, and obviously.
Yeah, and there's a big difference, as you know, with the Democratic registry. It's a good point you raised that. We're not California. Yeah. We're pretty evenly split here, Democrat, Republican. We have got to. We know the votes are here, obviously, with the President Biden, and obviously we won with President Obama. But we got to get those folks out. They got to realize, a governor is more important to your day-to-day life than the president is. I mean, governors run education. We run healthcare. We run the economies. We build the roads. We clean the roads. So your everyday life, Medicaid, Medicare, we administer all those programs at the state level. So it's really important we get out. If we want to continue to make great progress, we've got to elect myself and Hala and Mark, as well as keep a great. I mean, look at the progress we've made here, Brian. When I ran 8 years ago, we had the most anti-gay, anti-women, anti-immigrant, anti-environment, pro-gun legislation in America. Literally. If you remember, we had that horrible ultrasound bill, remember, in 2012, made us a laughingstock. The trap laws to shut the 16 clinics down. I stopped all that nonsense. We're a different state today, but we can't go back. We got to go forward in a progressive way.
Terry McAuliffe, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck in the upcoming election.
Thank you, man.